Hi, my name is Lee Nish, pastor of Sparks United Methodist Church. Welcome to worship and welcome to the series of messages entitled For All the Saints. A-L-L, that means yes, it means you, it means me, it means the tiniest of our kids to the oldest of our elders, not just those who have passed on to the next life. This is a message for all of us. And that actually includes, yes, young people in the 7th grade. I don't know how it was for you, but for me, that season of time was one of the hardest in my lives. I was transitioning, my body was changing, my mind was changing, my emotions were changing. I even changed schools because back in those days, 7th grade was part of middle school, which was then called junior high. So I had a new school to get used to, new teachers. 7th grade was a really tough year for me. And I kind of think that middle school is a tough season for all of us. That's why it's important to explore Jesus in the 7th grade. Welcome to worship.
Let me be your servant, let me walk your word. Guide me on your path, give light the light of day. Let me be a sure foundation, pure and strong. Let me tell of your salvation all life long.
Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak and show your face to me. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak for everyone I need. In silence when you call me, let me hear your voice. Jesus, walk beside me, let my soul rejoice. When winds and currents batter me, help me be sure. Give me courage from the storms when they occur. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak and show your face to me. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak for everyone I need. Last night when I awoke, I heard you call my name. You refreshed my soul, I felt your burning flame. Oh, strengthen me to bear my cross and walk your way. Give me grace to comfort those with all I say. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak and show your face to me. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak for everyone I need.
Hi, I'm Patricia Wilson. I'll be reading scripture today from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verses 41 through 50. Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for the festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem. But his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. When they did not find him, they returned to Jerusalem to search for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in a great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them.
So we're exploring really who we are at each point in all generations, because all generations belong to the saints, and that's why we've entitled this series of message, For All the Saints. And you may actually wonder, what generation are you a part of? Well, I can tell you very briefly what the descriptions are for generations, and then you can decide for yourself which generation you fall into. For those of you who are ages 96 through 122, you are called the greatest generation. If any of you are actually 122 years old today, please give me a call. I want to know what your secret is to staying alive. The silent generation, which was the generation that was the oldest generation for usually our church family, is ages 78 through 85. The baby boomers, my generation, they are now ages 59 through 77. Generation X, those who came after my generation, ages 45 through 58. And here are the generations of my kids. The generation of my kids, they're called millennials, and their ages are 27 through 42. Then we have Generation Z, ages 11 through 26. And finally, this brand new generation, we call it Generation Alpha, ages 0 through 10. Now, we don't really know very much about Generation Alpha because they're just coming into their own, and we don't know what characteristics they're going to exhibit, but we do know something about Generation Z. Generation Z is the most well-educated generation in the United States at this time. Generation Z is the most diverse generation that we have ever experienced in this country. And Generation Z is the generation that includes, yes, those young people who are 12 or roughly in 7th grade. And the reason I've entitled this message, Jesus in 7th grade, is because this is the only time when we know anything about Jesus between Jesus' birth and Jesus' baptism in the River Jordan by John the Baptist. There's in the Gospels, there are stories in Matthew, Mark, and Luke about Jesus' baptism, also in the Gospel of John. But in the Gospel of John, there's no mention of Jesus as a child. In the Gospel of Mark, there's no mention of Jesus as a child. So the only thing we have are the infancy stories that come to us through the Gospels of Luke and Matthew. After the Gospel story of Matthew telling us about Jesus' birth, there's nothing until Jesus' baptism. But in the Gospel of Luke, we learn some very helpful hints about who Jesus was growing up. And we know that Jesus came from a very religious family because in Luke, we understand that Jesus was taken to be circumcised, and on the 8th day, he was taken to the temple to be dedicated. So we know that both Mary and Joseph were not only religious people and practiced their faith, but also, without much doubt, they instructed Jesus in the faith as well as Jesus was growing up. But the gem of the Gospel of Luke is the one story, the singular story, the only time we understand anything about Jesus as a young person. And this story happens when Jesus was 12 years old. It's the story about Jesus getting lost in Jerusalem when the Holy Family was there for what we call the Feast of the Passover. And the Feast of the Passover happened every year, and as a religiously observant family, Mary and Joseph would take Jesus and they would make the journey from Nazareth, their hometown, all the way down to Jerusalem. Now, if you look on a map, you'll notice that Nazareth is basically just west of the start of the Jordan River. And then if you follow that line all the way down to Jerusalem, Jerusalem is just west of the end of the Jordan River. The journey that they took was roughly a 90-mile journey, all the way from Nazareth to Jerusalem. And the roads that they traveled, dirt roads traveled many times. Fortunately, the roads that we have today were built over those original dirt roads. So we know from looking at the map that it probably took Jesus and his family anywhere from 7 to 10 days to make that journey on foot, depending on how often they stayed or stopped to give their cattle water or whatever they had to do on that journey. And there were probably 60 to 80 people coming with them and going back with them while on that journey. They stayed the full 8 days in Jerusalem, which was the time that the festival happened. And so when we join them in this story, Mary and Joseph are on their way back to Nazareth. Now, they've traveled an entire day after spending time in Jerusalem. And at the end of the day, Joseph probably comes over to Mary because Joseph was traveling with the men. Mary would have been traveling with the women. Joseph comes over and says, Mary, Jesus is with you, right? And she says, no, I thought Jesus was with you. At that point, we hear an unholy scream. The Virgin Mary is beside herself because she realizes that they have just lost the Son of God. What that means is Saint Joseph and the Virgin Mary have just become delinquent parents in raising the most important child on that journey. Maybe some of you know a little bit about what it's like when you all of a sudden discover that you've lost your child. It is not a happy incident. My wife Joanne is going to share with you a story when we lost our small son Andrew and what that felt like. And I'm asking her to share it because I know she will include the details that are much more accurate than I would because she has relived that story moment by moment. Take a listen to Jo.
Hi, I'm Jo, and I'm here to tell the story about how we lost our child. Andrew was probably in 5th or 6th grade, maybe a little bit younger, but we were all skiing at one of our favorite places to go, Steamboat, Colorado. And the 4 of us went out there almost every year since they had been babies. We put them in ski school, and at the end of the day, when they were babies, we'd pick them up. But they were old enough at this point to ski at the very end of the day with us. So we took them up to the bunny slope. Now, Jenna wasn't prepared to go down the little tiny hill by herself, but Andrew could. So we said, okay, now this is the time of the day when everybody is coming down the mountain. And we thought, okay, one little run up and we'll meet you at the bottom and then we'll go back to our room and so on and so on. So we went up the little chairlift. There was only room for 3 on the chairlift. We had to help Jenna ski down. Andrew was confident. He said he could do this on his own. So he went up first and he skied down. We were right behind him. And of course, we had to get Jenna ready between us to ski down that little hill. We got to the bottom of the hill and there was no Andrew. And we're looking around, thought, did he fall? What happened? So I went back up, took the same run down. It's a tiny hill. There's not that much room to be lost on that hill. So I went down, there's no Andrew. Went up again, I thought, maybe I just totally missed him. Maybe he's down at the bottom. So I went up, went down again, got to the bottom, no Andrew. So being the mom, I am now panicking. I caught the first ski instructor I saw coming across and just said, we can't find our son. He went down the hill, but he's gone. Of course, my brain is thinking, he's a beautiful child. Somebody has kidnapped him. It'd be easy to do. There's a whole bunch of people we'd never know, actually, because I just went there automatically as a mom. Turns out that the ski instructor said, "Oh, that's what kids do. He'll be here in a second." I'm like, "Not my kid. He does not do this stuff." So I just kept looking through the crowd. Lee and I are kind of panicking. Jenna's getting cold. We're looking around, and a ski patrol person comes by, and he said, "Tell me where he went, because I know they have to act on whatever I'm asking them to do." So he's telling me, and I looked around, and he said, "Well, he's got this on, and he's got these clothes on." I looked across the way, and here comes Andrew, slushing across in his two skis. And I'm thinking, as best we could, we're running towards each other. And when Andrew got to me, I said, "Andrew, we were so worried." He said, "Mom, I'm not done with you yet." Well, yeah, that turned out to be the case. I wasn't done raising him, but he wasn't done raising me either. That's my story, but we found him.
So as you heard from Joe, having lost your child is just excruciating. Now, we know that it took them a day to get back to Jerusalem to look for Jesus, and another day looking for him. So they actually spent 3 days not knowing where he was. Toward the end of that third day, they found him in the temple. And of course, they were unhappy. They found him being taught by some of the leaders in the temple. And in those days, the temple was not only the temple proper, you had courtyards circling the temple, very close to what we would have today as far as children's Sunday school classrooms encircling the sanctuary. And he was found in one of those Sunday school classrooms, not only listening to the elders and learning from them, but also asking questions that were really far beyond his age to understand. And so Mary was beside herself. She said, "Jesus, why on earth did you stay here? You knew we were leaving. What's wrong with you?" Well, Jesus answered something to the effect that, "Well, didn't you know? I mean, I'm here because I'm about my Father's business." At that point, Jesus returned to Nazareth with Mary and Joseph. And we understand that Jesus was obedient as a child. Neither Mary nor Joseph understood what on earth Jesus was talking about. I'd like to suggest that many of us who not only went through age 12, or I would just like to say the 7th grade, many of us tried to describe to our parents what we were going through, and they didn't understand. And just like that experience, I remember when I was a parent of our 2 children, Andrew and Jenna, and the times that I least understood who these young people were when they were in and around the age of 12, in and around 7th grade. It's a very tough season. But the other thing to keep in mind is that for Jesus in his day, it was understood that when you became 12 years old and a day, it became the preparatory time to lead up to the year of your birth, the 13 years old and 1 day, which was when you were bar mitzvahed. It means when you became a man and became responsible for your own decisions and your own actions. That's why many of us who are in the church today begin a process called confirmation, where we teach our 7th graders as much as we know or can help them in terms of understanding the Christian faith. And then at the end of that process, when they're 13 or so, we ask them to make or confirm their faith in saying what they believe. It's a very important part of what we live here in the church, but it's also a very important part of what happens as we're transitioning from a child into an adult. Here at our church, we try to make sure that all of our kids have that kind of training or understanding as they're growing up, both in terms of Sunday school and also in terms of a confirmation process. But we also know that we've been losing young people over the course of years. The number of young people in our church is greatly diminished over what it used to be. And we're concerned because, well, unlike Jesus, Mary and Joseph knew how to go back to find the Jesus who was lost. Sometimes we who are the adults in our churches lose our way, and we do not know how to go back and discover where our children went, when they left the church, or even worse, what's going on with them today. As I mentioned last week, 48% of young adults, 48% of Gen Zs describe themselves as either fairly religious or not religious at all. And again, the high percentage of those young people who are experiencing loneliness, depression, and also a sense of maybe being lost to the point of taking their own lives, it's an epidemic that we're all facing. And so I hope that if you're a parent and you're concerned about your child, maybe your child is lost, maybe you see them all the time, but they may be lost to the influences of the school that they're attending, or the influence of social media, or the influence that they're facing as a young adult. I want to ask you to pray for them. And we want to join you in praying for them as well. In fact, we've designed a card that looks just like this. It's called Pray for a Child. Prayer for a Child. And we'd be happy to send this card to you if you send your contact information to us. We'll put this in the mail to you. Just print the name of the child and what the prayer is. Now you can place this prominently in your home so that whenever you get up in the morning and go to the bathroom, the card is there. It reminds you to say a prayer for that child. If you want, you can send it back here to our church. We have a prayer wall that we're developing through the month where we will place this card on the wall along with many others, and we'll pray for this child by name. Because our children, being part of all the saints, our children are too precious to us to be left behind. But just as Jesus, the Son of God, was too important to be left behind, so are you, a child of God, too important to be left behind.
Hi, I'm Michelle Scarborough. Please pray with me. Dear God, when you were here living with us as your son Jesus, and you had wonderful adventures, I'm sure. There's so many things about you we don't know. You haven't shared them with us in your scripture. But when you were 13 and you were a teenager, you stuck around doing what you should do, being exactly where you belonged, and yet you threw your parents into a panic. How many of us have done similar things, put our parents in panic? But I'll bet we weren't doing what we were supposed to do. And then we become parents, and we panic, and our children are teenagers, and we cry, and we pray, and we fuss, and we fret. And thank God we turn to you. And when we don't turn to you, help us to turn to you. We all need to grow. We all need to stretch. We all need to be found. We need that feeling of release and relief and love when we are found. When Joseph and Mary saw you and they were so relieved to know you were safe and know you were okay. Let us not forget the generations before us. Let us remember for the generations ahead of us. You will take care that things happen in the right time, and you will take care and make sure we are safe. We are so thankful. We are so grateful. And while you didn't teach us this prayer when you were 13, you did teach us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Let me be your servant, let me walk your way. Guide me on your path, good like the light of day. Let me be a sure foundation, pure and strong. Let me tell of your salvation all life long. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak and show your face to me. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak for everyone I meet. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak and show your face to me. Give me ears to listen, give me eyes to see, give me words to speak for everyone I meet.
Hey, thanks so much for joining us in worship today. Just want to let you know how much we care about this next generation coming along. Not only the alphas, the really tiny ones, but also Gen Z, which includes our young people, teenagers, young adults. If you want to join us in caring for those young people, and you're physically close to our campus, we invite you to come and join us at Sparks United Methodist Church. We have a loving and caring Sunday school group of folks. We also have an excellent youth pastor who works with a bunch of lay volunteers. We have a number of exciting opportunities for families over the course of the year. We hope that you'll consider coming and joining us. But at the very least, even if you're not physically close, but you're worshiping from some distance, we hope that you will use this card as a way to pray for someone in your sphere of influence. Maybe your own child. It may be a child that you're concerned about in the neighborhood, or it may be a child that is a relative of yours. But join us in prayer. And if you'd like us to pray, don't forget to send that in with us, because prayer changes us, but it also changes the world. Go change the world.
Thanks for joining us here at Sparks UMC. You can connect and join the conversation on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. To receive the weekly emails that share what's happening in the Sparks UMC community, scan the QR code on the screen or let us know by filling out the Connect card on our website. If you would like prayer, email us at sparksumcprayers@gmail.com or scan the code. We are grateful for your support of the ministry and mission of Sparks UMC. We'll see you next time. Be blessed.